Hey developers, in this video we are going to explore a npm package which is called React Intersection Observer. So we are going to see how to use it, where to use, and we are going to implement it on a simple web app. So I've just initialized a React app using Vite, and I've just removed all the boilerplate code from here. So let's first go to the npm package website and look at the React Intersection Observer docs. So this is the npm package website, and you can see it's written using TypeScript, and it's just a React implementation of Intersection Observer API. If you don't know what Intersection Observer API is, then you can go to MDN docs and read about it, but I will give you a brief explanation about this. So you can go to MDN docs and read about this Intersection Observer API. So in simple word, you can say Intersection Observer API is used to tell whether a component or element enters or leaves a viewport screen. So what does React Intersection Observer does? It provides you a hooks, and it is very easy to work with it. So before using this, first we need to install it in our project. So you can either use by yarn or either by npm. So I'm going to install it using my yarn command. Go to the terminal and just paste this. Oops, there may be some problem. Just paste it here, yarn add React Intersection Observer, and just press enter. And it's a very tiny package, so it won't take a lot of time. So it's installed in just 1.41 seconds. And now let's run the app on our local server, yarn dev, and my app is running on like localhost 5175. So let's see. So it's just a empty app, and what we are going to do, we are going to give 100 vh of height to a component, and below that we'll just create another component, and we will place an element here with a position of fixed, so that it will show whether this below element is present on the viewport or not. So here we have one div, and inside this we are going to create 3 more divs, v1 p tag, and 2 more divs. So one div, the other div. Let's write component 1 here, and here the component 2, and here we can write component 2 is, here we can write component 2 in viewport, and let's add a emoji. So now let's give all the divs and p to some class name, so that we can do some styling. Now you can see all this thing here, but we need to give some styling also. So let's give all of them a class name fixed, and it's to be class name component 1, and it should be class name of component, let's say c2, and let me change it to c1. Oops. Now let's write some css dot container dot fixed dot component and dot c1 dot c2. Now let's give a color of white, font size of maybe 3 rems to all, and here I'm going to place all the things to the center. So let me write display flex align item center, justify content center. Now let's give this component 1 to a height of 100 vh. So let's height of 100 vh, and let's give a background color to this second component. So background color maybe the 30. Yeah, so you can see it has some different color and it has some different background color. Now let me give some height to this also, maybe 20 rems. Now it has some height and it has 100 vh height, and let's give a position to fixed here. Position fixed at top of maybe 10 rem and left maybe 5 rem. So it looks like this. Let me decrease the font size of this thing. Font size 1.8 rem. Now it looks good. Now what we want to do, if this component 2 is visible in the screen, so we want a green checkbox here. So for this we are going to use React intersection observer. So it's always the best to open the documentation side by side. So let me show you how you can just read from the documentation and apply. So what we are going to use, use in view hook from React intersection observer API, React intersection observer, and using this hook you can get some values. You can get this also from object destructuring or using array destructuring, but don't do with the array destructuring, because using array destructuring you need to remember the order of all these things. So like for our purpose we just need a ref and in view thing. So let's first import use in view from React intersection observer. So now we need to use this use in view hook, and it will give a bunch of values like ref in view entry, etc. So we need to, like, using object destructuring we are going to get these values. You can also use array destructuring, but if you are doing array destructuring you need to remember the order. I'm going to use object destructuring. So I need a ref in view, and we need to call this use in view hook, and I need to pass threshold of 0. So I'll tell you what this threshold is and what is this ref and in view is. So ref is what in a ref we need to give to the element which we want to check whether it's on our viewport or not. So I want to check whether the component 2 is present in the viewport or not. So let's give a ref here, ref equals ref, and this in view will return a boolean, either true or false. If it's present on the viewport it will return true, either it will return false. So what next we want to do is, if this component 2 reaches to the screen, we want a green checkbox, else we need a cross checkbox. So let's see. So we are going to use ternary operator for this thing. Let me write, if in view is true then I need a green checkbox, and if it's false then I need a red cross box. So let me get the green checkbox, and let me also get the red checkbox. And let's save and see. So you can see now it is showing the red cross box. Component 2 is in viewport and it says not. But if I scroll, and once this component reaches below 100 vh, it gives a green checkbox. And if it passes the screen it will also give us a false value to the in view. So let me also show you this thing. Div on, let's give a style of maybe height of 120 vh. Now I have another div below this, so if it crosses the screen it will give a false value. So we got the cross value, and now it's true. But the problem is, if it reaches the bottom, it's giving us true. But if we want that, if it completely reaches to the bottom, then we want the true value. So what we can do is, in the threshold we can just uh, give 1. Now what will happen, if you can see, it's component 2 is still visible, but it's not completely in the viewport, so it's giving the false. But when it reaches completely, it's returning the true value. Let's close this now. So the threshold basically means at how much content you want the true and false value for in view. Like if it reaches the 50%, you want the true value. So for 50% you can write 0.5. So if it reaches the half, you can get the green checkbox, right? And here you can give a bunch of values like delay, and you can pass delay as milliseconds. So let's say I'm giving 1000 milliseconds, which is equals to 1 second. So if it reaches the viewport, and then after 1 second it will give us return as true. So now you can see after 1 second. And there are also a bunch of things like root margin and root property. So in root margin you need to give a margin just like css value, so that at what point you want the in view to call and not. So before giving the root margin, first you need to give the root, so that root margin will work. So that's it for the React intersection observer. It's very simple, and